Yeah.
Cable.
We should talk about the utility.
The property damage. I mean, we got a slip and fall right here.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's another edition of the Volpe Bazzo Report.
And,
Yes.
and by the way, who are your guests?
And by the way, who are our guests? Rich, by the way, the camera is right in front of the television, so I can't even see us.
I know.
But anyway, I'll give you a better one. This is more like the Volpe Bazzo Report does Grace Notes. Because our guests this week are Bruce A. Parr and Michael Grace. These are our commentators now.
Commentators for
and
this
they
week.
formerly of Grace Notes. But, you know, with Michael not being the supervisor, they lost a TV show, and they've been jonesing for this airtime. Right. So they give Dominic and I an extra 20 each, and they say, "Well, do this show again." They said, Dominic doesn't need the money, but it's he takes it anyway. He buys his staff coffee with it. But anyway, we're here on March 6th. And for
2018.
By the time the show airs,
I like to be precise.
People are still going to remember this was the weekend of the nor'easter.
Riley, I believe, right? Riley was the name of the storm?
We're at the end of one nor'easter.
Riley. Yeah, you know what they're doing now? Because the next one...
Oh, they're doing like
the next one is a Quentin. They're going backwards from Z for the storms because the hurricanes go from A.
Right, from A to Z.
So they're going backwards. So you have Sandy, right?
Right.
And then Riley, and they're saying the next one I think is Quentin.
And that's supposed to hit tonight.
Yeah,
I thought
right. That's just what I'm trying to say. Right now we're between storms.
What do you mean?
Right.
I know, but I guess
people are finding out. Now,
they don't happen that often. So.
A couple of things. We're between storms. First of all, hello to Marianne McCara, as always.
All right. Hi, Marianne.
Yes.
Hello to Christine Scotty, who's the one that puts our shows on Facebook.
Hi, Christine. And Brian.
And for all you people who are not watching the show now, you can watch it Saturday night at 7:30 also. So,
provided you
of the
wow,
show,
really?
Right.
Oh.
Is that because our rating was so high?
Our ratings were so high.
Yeah,
we're on two cables, two times. 9:30, right?
We're just beating the hell out of it.
You should mention Darren Rigger and Brian from Bagali, whose seats we're keeping. Michael and I are keeping warm.
I think you murdered them. I haven't seen them in months. It's amazing how they disappeared after you guys lost your TV show. I watched The Blacklist. I could see this conspiracy.
That's right.
How they just disappeared.
I'm James Spader. That's right.
But
I wish.
for all you people that have weathered the storm, again, you're probably sitting home by candlelight watching this TV because you have no electricity.
Right.
We want to discuss we're going to be in the aftermath by the time the show airs, and I'm glad Michael's here. He is a prominent lawyer in Yorktown, and
past supervisor.
He's actually a very good lawyer in Yorktown. He's been how many years?
Being a lawyer?
Yeah.
Oh, God, 30.
He pleads the fifth.
Yeah, 30-something, 33, 34.
That's what I mean. Yeah. If he wasn't good, he wouldn't be doing it this long. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe they would
have been. He was a town attorney for Yorktown.
Right, that's right. He was the town attorney. But people are going to be asking questions. The first one is going to be, I saw in the local paper, the Examiner, that Con Ed is going to be reimbursing people $252 for their loss of food.
Really?
Are they doing this out of the goodness of their heart, or are they contracted?
I guess there's some,
a little PR.
Yeah, more than anything else. I mean, you can make these claims, but usually they're not worth the effort, and to get the documentation, etc. You'd have to, you really have to. But I guess if they offer to do it, that's a nice thing because it makes it shortcut. It's impossible to do it as a professional for anything.
Now, my question is this, because Con Ed and cable, I don't know if they're the same or they're different, but you lose power. Like, I've been out of cable for almost a week.
Well, I know
there are people like you've been out of power and cable for close to a week.
Right.
Are they going to play act of God and say we don't have to take anything off the bill? Or
no, they actually, I think with the cable, most franchise agreements Each municipality has its own franchise agreement, each territory. But I think most franchise agreements require them to refund you for the time that you do not have.
Oh, they prorate it, right? They prorate it.
Yeah. But you have to ask for it because they won't give it to you otherwise.
Right. On demand. It's on demand.
So
Rebate on demand.
So when you say ask for it, you got to call them up, or you got.
You know what? I'm not really sure what the process is, but it should be in their cable franchise agreement with the local municipality. Will tell you what the reimbursable rate is for the time.
No, but do people call the cable company? Do they put a note with the bill?
I think you have to.
You have to. That's what Michael's saying. You have to call them. They're not going to.
So it's got to be an affirmative action on your
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And all these things that you do, even for the utilities don't do it at a gratis or feeling bad about the fact that your electricity is down. You actually have to go out and affirmatively do it. But the thing is that the proof of damages is very nebulous. It's very
difficult to prove.
Yeah, it's it actually is next to them. I mean, if you wanted to. If all the different elements of tort law come in place, yes, you can't. It's not worth it.
Yeah, but the fact that
if you have significant damages, which somebody can have. I mean,
no, what about it? No. Westbrook Drive, 2 houses next to each other, right past Curry. Trees fell on both lawns. Their trees, their lawns, hit their cars. One tree from one house did not hit somebody else's car. It was his tree hit his car, his tree hit his car. Amazing.
Right, well,
you had
the collision covers the car.
So there's not an act of God on that?
No. No, because actually it's
because I heard people after Hurricane Sandy had a lot of problems with it.
It's probably not because falling tree cases are actually quite interesting because you'll find out that trees don't just strong ones don't fall. Usually weak ones do, and there's always telltale signs for weak ones. And if you get a real good arborist, he'll tell you trees that will actually look healthy and you would think nothing else of them are actually very dangerous. And I've done these cases where you can take a look at the bark of a tree,
right.
and there's certain things called. One of them is called a shoestring fungus. It looks like little shoestrings on the trunk.
I've seen that.
And that tree is probably on its way out and it's going to collapse. So you would never, by physically looking at it on the outside of it, wouldn't know anything different. But you can tell from this guy. You good arborist can tell you from a mile away.
So the bite is worse than the bark.
Yeah, but you can tell about the canopy. Well,
I've been around you too long.
I know.
It does happen. There are some very good lawsuits where very tragic ones where people die.
Yeah, well, some kid died.
Yeah, so all signs, not necessarily even in a windstorm, where nothing is occurring, and the tree just spontaneously falls. Well, it doesn't spontaneously fall for no reason. There's a reason, and usually, and the property owner, you have to act reasonably over your property.
So in other words, it's almost like as if the insurance company is saying you were negligent because you knew that tree was about to fall, and therefore we're not going to reimburse you for the claim.
No, well, the falling trees are between neighbors. I get calls about. I've gotten calls about them this week.
Yeah.
Really?
And somebody said, my tree fell on my next door neighbor's property. And I was told by the tree company that I don't have to pick it up. The next door neighbor's got to pick it up.
Oh, right.
And so there's always this battle. If my tree falls and it hits your property, then you good luck. You go pick it up.
Oh, really?
And I'm of the opinion, no. When it's your tree and it's now trespassing
on their property.
It's a trespass on the other property. If you discharge water on somebody else's property, leaves on if you're discharging whatever on somebody else's property, you're responsible for it. But the bottom line is that you can get neighbors, and I've had them. I've had neighbors, both as town attorney and as a private attorney. They're at each other's throats because they hate each other anyhow to begin with.
Right.
And now the tree that actually straddles half of 3/4 on one property and the roof's on the other property. And what do you do about it? You're sitting there going. For the you'll get they'll hire legal talent at the tune of $10,000.
Meanwhile, to cut the tree was $2,000.
Yeah. And the thing is that with all these things, you're always better off. we're a society that always seems to want to be dependent upon somebody else to cure our problems, rather than having a little bit of frontierism in us.
Okay, now I got a better one. Now the towns are given a little bit of leeway on everybody's property, like to build sidewalks and all this. So it's like 5-foot regress from the street or something.
That's myth. Yeah, that's not true. But go ahead.
But whatever. So now they
But if you want to build
No, I mean, there's a reason why they can build a sidewalk on your property and not give you any money for taking that property
but
from
they
you.
can't.
You got sidewalks all over Shrub Road.
But they're not on your property. They're not every road, most roads, as long as were created or mapped after 1929, the legal
the right of
That's
way.
right.
legally required right of way is 50 foot. And before that, they used to do it by number of rods. There used to be 2 rods, and then it went to 3 rods. It ends up going from 33 and a half feet, 17 feet a rod or something like that, to 50 foot. But in order to map a public right of way, it has to be 50 foot wide. The actual pavement is usually only 18 foot is usually probably the normal size of a road, not much more than that. And actually, most of them are smaller than that. As to where the edge of pavement lies in relationship to the right of way, without a survey, you're not going to know. So some roads may be right down the middle of the 50 foot. Some roads may be skewed to one side or the other. But the right of way is the right of way, and everything off that right of way is private property. Anything in that right of way is not private property.
Okay, so but you got a tree
Yeah,
on the right of way,
yeah,
and it falls on the property owner's house.
yeah.
Who's responsible for this?
That if it's in the municipal right of way, the property owner is always responsible, and that would be the municipality. The problem with that is that you need prior notice.
That it's going to fall?
You need prior you need prior notice that the tree is either defective or diseased or something. And
But what if you have
It's
these
like-
50
it's like
mile an
it's almost
hour
like-
winds? You had these 50 mile an hour
Right.
winds going on. Knocks over the tree, along East Main Street,
Yeah.
falls down one of those big houses. How are they supposed to know it was going to do that?
you can't actually, and I'm going to tell you.
That's just it. I got the
tell you,
fit.
you actually can. It's not that you get somebody that's, there are people that have, a skill level that are trained in these things. They can tell. You can tell a diseased one from a good one, and you can do. There's all sorts of ways of doing it. There actually is the state has a program for all its highways and the parkway authorities that they actually go down and they survey and audit their rights of way, because you have a tree that falls on a parkway, you're going to have real problems.
Right.
And that does happen.
Yeah.
And then what happens is somebody really gets hurt or killed, and then you get an attorney like me, and I go out and I take a look at it, and I'll be able to tell you exactly when that tree if it was diseased and how long it was diseased.
Okay,
and
so
then-
now we got homeowners that are watching us, because even by candlelight,
Yeah.
they got trees on their property.
Andy, if they're watching by candlelight, they can't be watching our show because there's no electricity in the
It finally
house.
took you this long. 15 minutes into the show. 15 minutes into the show. But anyway, seriously, what should the average homeowner with trees on their property, what should they do to protect themselves? Because you keep talking about these people.
You have to.
What should they do for their
Right.
own
You-
peace
you-
of mind, their own precaution,
They should
their own...
They should move.
Yeah. Well, I knew a guy. No, don't laugh. I knew a guy that found out most accidents happen a mile from home, and he moved.
Boy, he's on a roll tonight. Really?
He's getting all your line.
But go ahead.
know, right?
What would you
He,
do?
you
he
have to-
invited me on to
Mike, it's
steal my
almost like
line.
you're saying-
I mean, you have to
You
be.
have to do like an inventory
I
of
mean,
what you have on
it's
your
really
property.
funny. I mean, you can't. If you're going to buy a piece of property and you got trees on it, you got to be. You take a look at them.
Yeah.
You got to look. I mean, it.
Should they hire somebody professionally to do
You
it?
should. You know what? You do it for your garden and other things. You do. Yeah.
That is a good.
it's
That's
not-
good advice.
That's what I'm
actually.
saying. You know,
That
I
is
want to
good
make it a little
advice.
bit of a timeless show here.
Yeah, you really should.
is good
You
advice.
really have to be vigilant about anything that you own, and to the degree that you have trees that have the ability to fall or drop to where you don't want them to, or that they shouldn't, or that they're dangerous to drop, you have to take care of it. I had my next door, I woke up Friday morning to chainsaws going off and a backhoe and everything else. The highway department was moving a tree, and then it was so I get down. I finally get out. I emerge from I go down the driveway, and there on my property now is this, 2.5 foot, 3 foot, this wide trunk and a root ball, and it's sitting on my property.
What's a root ball?
I
have no idea.
The
base.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now it ends up now you see my neighbor, and she goes, "Oh, you've got my tree."
You've got my tree?
I said, I know, and you can have it back. But it's like, what happened is it uprooted on the other side of the road, fell into the road, and then the highway department decided to pick it up, and they couldn't push it back uphill to her property, so they pushed it downhill onto my property. So there it sits. But it's...
Now, who's responsible for removing it?
Well, in that case, it's going to be the town, because it's within their right of way, but you do have issues. I as a personal injury lawyer, and when I was town supervisor, and even as town attorney, it was more so as town supervisor. If I would drive around and I would see things that I would look at, and I'd say, you know what? Because I'm very, that's how my mind works.
Right.
I would turn around and tell highway, you got this tree here, this tree there. It's got to come down.
Right.
It's going to be, it's one thing to say, you blow it off, but, a lot of these things are what you call widow makers. I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
And you got to be conscious about it. And the thing is, when you're driving, the storm last week, it wasn't an issue of sliding or slipping or not getting traction.
Right.
It's an issue, if something comes flying
Things are flying
down,
out of the sky.
You're not going
to,
you may just have missed it, but I'm going to tell you right now. I talked to my son the other day because this tree that came down, I had to be this wide. And I'm thinking my son left at 6 o'clock or 6:30 in the morning. His job. I said, there's a tree down when you left? And he said, no. So that tree fell down sometime between when he left and when I left. And I'm thinking, all you got to do is make a left turn out of my driveway. All of a sudden be the wrong gust. We would have the wrong gust of wind.
Yeah.
Boom.
Now, Dominic, you have family and you have property in multiple towns: Peekskill, Yorktown, and Cortland.
Right.
What did you notice about the response times in these different towns?
I just was talking to Mike about this before. For some reason, this storm, and I don't know, maybe it's because of the amount of trees that just toppled over onto lines, but they sent out what they call these assessment teams. And to me, it's almost like they wasted, I'm going to say, a day, 2 days, 2.5 days, where they should have had the utility, line, or the guys that do the wood, the actual cutting of the trees and whatever. They should have been out there like immediately taking care of that. I didn't see that for the first 2 days. We just saw
But don't they have to fund the assessment? Doesn't it mean they have to figure out where the problem is first?
Well, yeah,
right?
but they sent out these crews, and it was like, they would stand there, like in front of my store. There was one there for like 3.5 hours. I mean, and when another truck came, and all of a sudden, they took a look, and then within 15 minutes they were gone. You wasted 2 trucks for 3 hours, and then at the end never did anything. I don't understand that.
I'm going to tell you.
To me, the response on the physical part, not the assessment part, and I don't know if is it because Con Edison wasn't ready, or if they no longer have the manpower to do the actual cutting of the trees.
I'm going to tell you, we learned in Sandy, and then I can't say
You were
anything
supervisor during
Sandy,
Sandy.
and I can't say I witnessed what's going on now, and I'm thinking.
No. Well, let's talk about what you did. Because you sent up a command center. I remember that because it was on cable. You had a command center on cable.
Right in town hall.
And you had highway, police, fire, ambulance. Everybody was there.
The first thing we do is we make sure every neighborhood is not dead-ended or trapped. So everybody's got ingress and egress, or an alternate means of ingress and egress. We had one cul-de-sac up at the north end of town that was blocked off because live wire came. So those are the things that you first do. You do a triage.
Now, did you have in that command center? Did you have representatives from cable and the electric companies?
I had both utilities. Interestingly enough, Con Ed was there almost 24/7. NYSEG wasn't. But NYSEG actually.
Well, I'm reading Mike Kaplowitz's posts on Facebook. NYSEG is really.
No, he's got it all wrong. I'm going to tell you.
We got restored by NYSEG pretty quick.
NYSEG, we gave accommodations to the crews at NYSEG because of how well they responded.
I think they.
But
were quick.
what you have is you got your highway guys. Every plows their roads. Every highway guy's got a highway route, the plow route. Every plow route, what you get is they're the front guys. They're the guys that tell you, feed you back the information.
What's going on?
So
what's
you
on
now
this-
get
right.
back. It goes back to the command center. You sit there and you triage exactly what's going on, where you got to move stuff, and then what we would do is we would assign.
So you say the first responder is highway?
You have in those situations, because but they are the guys that are going to sit there and they can feed you the information.
Well, in a sense, what he's saying is they could be, in a sense, what these assessments.
No. What I'm saying is that.
But it's quick
But you bring in Con Ed or all this. They don't know the town.
Right, and
They don't know the roads.
Right.
They need to know where to go.
We had guys from Carolinas come
But
up.
every town's highway,
right.
every town's highway
Midwest.
department, and not just you, but Cortland, Peachtree, their people know their roads,
Right.
and they would have an idea where the first trouble spots would be in any
And
emergency.
they also know
ramp
what the
access.
critical one is because nobody's
Right.
going to understand.
Right, right.
We had Beaver Ridge. We had 200 residents in there,
Right.
and there wasn't a lot of obvious physical damage, but there were 3 trees leaning on a high power wire. You said if you get those off, now that whole place is restored. And you look
Right.
at it and say, well, how's that a priority when I got you can see all this other carnage all over the place. We said, well, that carnage is only serving maybe 1 or 2 households, and who cares? I don't need to get so you need the input from the local guys
Right.
in order to be able to direct.
So that's what I
where-
said as first responder. I'm not just just.
And you can't sit there and it used to drive me crazy. You had towns that sit there. Well, we're waiting for the state to show up. We're waiting for the county to show up.
For what?
Or we're waiting for the utilities to show up, and we'd be going, why?
Right.
Right.
You got to start.
Right.
You got.
Well, a lot of them say because of the wires. You don't know.
All you need the utilities. And this is what drives me nuts because if you the utilities.
Because again, I read Facebook and I read these
Right,
things.
you
Fake
got-
news.
You
Well,
sit,
a lot
you
of
sit
it
there and
is.
you see a
Facebook
bunch
it
of
is.
wires in a tree and you say, all right, we're backing off. Sandy may have been a little easy because everything was down, so you knew nothing was live. So what you need is your utility company say to make safe. In other words, there's nothing, this power is dead here. Once the power is dead here, you can go wild on take. And now the forte of the local guy, municipality, is that we have all the heavy equipment. I've got the front end loaders, I got the backhoes, I've got the bobcats, I got the chainsaws, I got the manpower. So
You also got the police to clear off the roads
Right,
from
and-
traffic.
right.
Again, we're not talking about, when you say you're talking about as a supervisor
right,
or a mayor.
right.
I mean, we're talking about general government.
Right.
Because you were there. And so you got, that's what I said about command center. You have the police department at your disposal. You need to clear off so there's no traffic, so your people can get in.
we used to sit there, state of emergency, don't go out on the road. Forget it, everybody's out on the road.
Well, of course, I don't understand that at all.
Not only are they out on the road, but they're out on the road and there's no traffic signals. So now the traffic's all backed up. Now I got a one huge front end loader, which has got to go from one end of the town to the other town. 40 square miles go uptown. I got to get him. If he takes 2 hours to get from one end of the town, so what we do is we did police escorts. I did police escort. I gave I told Con Ed and NYSEG, well, every one of your crews needs to set up. You call us. We'll send out a cop car. We'll do traffic control. I don't need the 2 linemen sitting there with
Right,
flags.
yeah, right.
Right.
And
Which
so it
is
was
what
always.
I did see that in this one.
So we cool.
Well, I'm assuming they did that in Peekskill too, because Cortland doesn't have their own police department. Well,
Yeah, well
they don't have any crime. They don't need police.
Our big.
No, but I'm saying I did see what Michael's saying.
Yeah.
I just saw today linemen
Right.
directing traffic.
Our big advantage in Yorktown
Crazy.
was that we did have our own PD, and and that's when people want to get rid of the local PD, it always drives me nuts because it's a huge asset. You can deploy them where you need them to be deployed, and the thing is that was the whole. We had 35 and Broad Street, which is a major intersection coming into town.
Sure, yep.
Oh, that's an order. That's everything.
Was devastated. So they finally get nice. It gets the poles back. Everything's up. All of a sudden, the communication cable, which is on the pole, sunk over 35, and that's the big round thick. That looks like everybody thinks that's the big scary power line. It's all the copper double pair for the phones. So it's sunk down. Which now, if you had a tractor trailer coming down 35, which you do all the time, it hits it. I'm going to pull down all the poles that just went up. So we had to shut down the road. So we sent the cops out there. We block off one side, so we find an alternative route for all the traffic to disappear. Call Verizon up, say you got to get down here, and we need a crew here. You got to lift your cable because it's hanging too low. I don't know if we can get there. I don't know if we can get there. You don't get there. We're taking a chainsaw to it, and we'll take it off one end and the other end, and then you can deal with it later because it's coming down. It's either we're taking it down or you're putting it up. Make your choices. They showed up. We were very aggressive with Sandy, but we were very cooperative, and we were very appreciative. We worked very well, with the guys, their crews. We treated them well. We told them where to eat.
Are there pissing contests between state, county, and local? Do you get those or in those emergencies, or do they actually put them aside and say we got to get from point A to point B, and pissing contests are not?
I think what happens is that the politicians here from irate constituents. And so they decide, the best thing to do is they're mad. I got to show them that I'm mad for them, so they go out and be mad. And what happens is it all falls apart. So I remember showing up Linda Puglisi, and I adore her. She's a very sweet, and I really do. I like.
Should have seen her on the treadmill giving Dominic power.
But she's a great lady. I've known her for years. But she had this thing in the postmortem for Con Ed, and she just wanted everybody to bash Con Ed, and I said I'm not going to do it because they were actually good.
That's
and I'm like, what's the point?
But the question becomes this though. So do you think though that it's twofold. Number one, do you think their crews, meaning has Con Edison jobbed out all their utility trucks as compared to when back in the 60s and the 70s, their yard was full of trucks.
Yeah.
And now you drive by and there's nothing there.
Right.
So that's why, is the response time slow because of that?
But I would also say, compared to what? Slow compared to
I
what?
want to just go off top 1 second because Bruce is our resident guy that's been in the press all his life, as far as I know.
Now,
how would you know?
And Dominic's in the cleaning business.
We only got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
We only got 2 minutes left. About one. Bruce, how would you
Yes, Andy.
rate the coverage of this event locally? Because you're big on local news. You've always said that the local news is where it's at.
Well, first of all, in a case like this, thank God that there's online media, which obviously you can't cover it in a weekly newspaper on an hour-to-hour database basis. No, I think it's been very good actually. But I think online media like the Daily Voice and Tap Into and Patch come in very useful at times like this because they're constully sending out updates.
Sure. It's immediate.
Yeah, right. No, so
if you were still in the publishing thing, you would have utilized social electronic media.
Well, yeah, but I'm very wary, especially in a crisis like this, of social media. But yes, I mean I think the online media has done a great job. But there's a lot of anecdotal information that people hear and then they report, and it's not true.
Right, it's gossip and rumor.
So now for people that follow the Facebook and Twitter and all that, what would your advice?
We need more social media posters like Marianne McCara, who publishes facts.
With pictures.
With pictures, right?
Yes.